Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, and this is Mildred, who's joining me for this particular reference recording. And today we're talking about the Haydn Symphonies, and we all know what the reference recording is, don't we? It's Antal Dorati with the Philharmonia Hungarica, right? Yes, Haydn Complete Symphonies. Oh, she was there to join us. I guess she wasn't as interested as I thought she was. Never mind. I try to include them. I really do. Anyway, yes, the Philharmonia Hungarica. You get Symphonies 1 through 104 plus A and B plus the Sinfonia Concertante for 107 symphony-type objects altogether, plus spare movements and extra different versions of things. And it's really an amazingly complete edition done under the supervision of the great Haydn scholar H.C. Robbins Landon for Decca, who I sort of hounded into his grave talking about classical symphony orchestras and vibrato. The poor man, he was deathly ill, but I insisted on speaking with him anyway. It was very interesting, actually. But here's the bottom line. This was, for a bazillion years, the only complete Haydn symphony cycle, which made it the reference edition by default. But even had it not been, it would still be the reference edition, because it's not true. Let's put it this way. There was another Haydn symphony cycle with Ernst Mersendorfer conducting, I believe it is, and it's available on Scribendum. It's nowhere near as good as this. It really isn't. I mean, I listened to it. I got it. It was transferred to CD from mostly, I believe, from LPs. The sonics are a little bit inferior. The playing is definitely inferior. The interpretations, well, they have their moments. There are some good performances in the earlier symphonies. They get worse as they get on. This is definitely the reference for consistency, if nothing else. There are some outstanding performances here. There really are. And nothing falls below the level of very good. There are better versions of the Paris symphonies and of the London symphonies individually. And we're going to talk about some of those in this series because there are other reference recordings for Haydn symphonies for specific groups of them. But for the complete set, this is your baby on Decca. I don't know if it's still around, to be honest with you. It may have disappeared entirely. It's like a tragedy if it has. They've put out a box of Dorati Detroit stuff, but they really need a Dorati other stuff box as well. And we have the Dorati Mercury stuff. So we really need his other Decca recordings and Phillips recordings and things like that. Really a wonderful conductor of incredibly Catholic repertoire. I mean, just amazing. In fact, his Haydn deserves a box because he also did the oratorios and he did the 24 minuets and he did all kinds of other things. Il Ritorno di Tobia, that was really cool. So, bottom line, we need more Dorati. And it's very interesting because after this, there were a whole bunch of partial and not quite complete series. There was Derek Solomon's, who's just been reissued. Here he is. We're going to be talking about that. I'm just going through it again with great pleasure, actually. There was Max Goberman, who actually has the same box design as Derek Solomon's, thanks from Sony, which was saving a little money, evidently. So don't get them mixed up. He's right down there. Christopher Hogwood started one on L'Oiseau Lyre to go with his Mozart cycle, and it didn't get nearly as far. He got halfway, 2/3 of the way through, maybe. Those performances are dismal. They are expressive nullities. They really are. And they, and L'Oiseau Lyre, Universal, Phillips, Decca managed to finish up that cycle by adding some other performances from various sources to make a complete cycle. But it's not a patch on this one. It really, really isn't. And then we got, let's see, who else did them? Let me see. There was some really, truly forgettable. Oh, what's his name? Who did it? I can't remember his name. He does all the Philip Glass stuff. Dennis Russell Davies. He did a complete Haydn cycle with like the Vienna Symphony or something like that. Oh my God, it's bad. Wow. Talk about just just run-throughs, playing the notes. There's nothing there, no expression, no feeling. There were some other people did substantial chunks of Haydn symphonies. Franz Bruggen did very, very good Haydn on period instruments. Harnoncourt did some wonderful Haydn on period instruments and with the Concertgebouw. Trevor Pinnock did a wonderful set of Sturm und Drang symphonies. So yeah, we weren't short for Haydn symphonies, but Haydn symphonies have always been a tough sell. Just listen to the record labels talk about them because people don't appreciate just what works of genius they are. And there are so many of them. There's just too many of them. I mean, to find a conductor who can encompass the entire range of what Haydn achieved. I mean, we're talking about the evolution of classical instrumental music as we know it. I mean, this was Haydn's invention. The forms, the structures, the language of classical music. I mean, this was something that Haydn invented almost out of whole cloth. And yes, other people did other things in other areas, Mozart and gosh knows, Beethoven and people like that. But, Haydn simultaneously suffers from the fact that he was the guy who originated it all, but he was immediately overtaken by other composers who are more popular, not better. I hasten to say, never better. And so this set really has, in some respects, met with the same fate. There are better performances of individual works, individual symphonies or sets of symphonies by other people. Nobody cares about the really early symphonies or a lot of the middle period symphonies or late middle period symphonies, which are done extraordinarily well, quite often is not in this set. But people just aren't interested. They don't know the music, and there's too much music to know. I mean, I used to jump up and down and carry on. I still do, because we're doing the Haydn Symphony Crusade, where we're going through all of these symphonies one at a time. I mean, oh, what fun that is. We're up to number 54. This is the time we do this video, which is a glorious work. Wait till you see that one. I'm working on it. But, it was simply such an enormous fund of riches of music that it's on 30 some odd CDs. Originally, it was on LPs that came with beautiful, beautiful notes by H.C. Robbins Landon with examples and things. It was such a nicely, beautifully produced set. It really was on LP. And Decca was doing all the major Haydn cycles. They did the string quartets with the Aeolian Quartet, and they did, who was it? John McCabe doing the piano sonatas. And, there was all kinds of fun stuff there happening on Decca in those days for Haydn, if you were a Haydn person. It was exciting. And one of the reasons it was possible, because it wasn't until the 1950s that we even had the scores. Haydn is one of the great composers. I mean, I think the Haydn Complete Edition is finally done. Finally. But, you had Mozart Complete Editions and Beethoven Complete Editions in the 19th century. Haydn, nothing was happening until the 1950s and 60s. It's shocking when you think about it, but that's another one of the reasons that we didn't get to hear our Haydn. So when this came out, it immediately became the reference. It remains the reference. It is still the reference. There will be a new Haydn Symphony cycle from Thomas Fye and his folks, the Heidelberg Symphony. He's not going to complete it because he was, injured and had to retire, but it's going to be completed on Hensler. That will be exciting. That will be a very good cycle. It also has its pluses and minuses. And, of course, we have to talk about the elephant in the room, which is Adam Fischer with the Austro-Hungarian or the Esterházy Orchestra, whatever the hell it was called. It's sitting right up there on the shelf. It's now on Brilliant Classics. It was originally on Nimbus. And that's also a decent cycle. It has some outstanding performances among the early works. Fischer was always a bit of a meddler when it came to the basic text. He futzes with things. He tends to do things like so many of these people without the trumpet and drum parts and things that Haydn wanted. And more to the point, the original issue in that release of the London symphonies was horrible. It's like the worst ever. It was like it was recorded it was when Nimbus was doing its super duper digital recordings in an echo chamber. It is mushy and smushy and gushy and thick and featureless. It's a blob of music. It's really bad. So again, while it has some lovely things in it, and it does, I would be the last to deny it. How can you not when you do 107 symphonies by somebody? It doesn't have anything like Dorati's consistency. And so if you're getting to know the Haydn symphonies, this is the reference recording. It's the classic example of a reference recording where not every performance is the best. You can find other alternatives, but the consistency is undeniable, and the musicality is there, and it allows you to discover the music, to know what it is, and refine your own view and your own taste as you explore further. And you can't ask for much more than that. So keep on listening, friends. Thanks for joining me, and take care.